I remember the morning it hit me. It was a chilly Thursday in late October. I was walking out to grab the newspaper from the end of the driveway, something I'd done for decades. But that morning, halfway back up the steps, my legs trembled like I'd just climbed a mountain. My heart was pounding. I paused, hand on the railing, and I thought to myself, when did this get so hard? Maybe you've had a moment like that. Maybe it was reaching down to tie your shoes and realizing your knees don't want to cooperate. Or maybe you felt a little off balance getting out of bed, or noticed your arms tired faster than they used to just carrying in the groceries. It sneaks up, doesn't it? Not overnight, but little by little, until one day you realize the strength you once took for granted isn't there. This isn't just aging. This is something doctors call sarcopenia. But let's call it what it really is. It's the silent theft of muscle and energy. It creeps in around our 60s, and if we're not careful, it can rob us of our independence in ways we never expected. Now, here's the twist no one tells you. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't need to join a gym or spend a fortune on supplements with names you can't pronounce. You just need the right fuel, and chances are, it's sitting in your kitchen right now. Nature has always had answers, and today, I want to walk you through 6 simple fruits that helped me rebuild not just my body, but my confidence. But before we get there, let me tell you about someone who changed the way I look at growing older. His name was Frank Mitchell, my neighbor from across the street in Lafayette, Indiana. Frank was 71 when I met him, a retired train engineer with a handshake like a vice grip and a laugh that could fill a room. But one winter, he slipped on ice, broke his hip, and within months, he went from walking every morning to barely making it to the mailbox. The doctors told him it was age. But I watched Frank fight. He didn't accept the chair they wheeled him in. Instead, he began changing what he ate. He didn't focus on what to cut out. He focused on what to add. And fruit was where he started. Not the sugary kind from a can, but real, whole fruit. Bananas, cherries, apples. The kind of things most folks overlook. I asked him one day, "Why fruit?" He said, "Because it works," and he was right. Within 6 months, Frank was walking around the block again. Slow, steady, but stronger. It wasn't magic. It was muscle rebuilt, restored, renewed with the help of what he called God's medicine. What shocked me the most was how simple the science really is. Some fruits contain compounds that help your body fight the very inflammation that weakens muscles. Others boost the minerals your muscles need to contract and relax properly. And a few are packed with natural antioxidants that protect your tissues from breaking down too soon. Now, I'm not here to sell you a miracle. I'm here to offer you a quiet, powerful shift. And in the next few minutes, I'll walk you through 6 fruits that can help rebuild your strength from the inside out. I'll show you how each one works, why it matters, and how you can easily add them into your day. No gimmicks, no hype. Just the truth that someone like Frank showed me. Because here's the truth. If you're over 60, you can still get stronger. You can still enjoy movement without pain, lift your grandkids without wincing, and walk into the grocery store with energy in your step. But you have to make a choice. Do nothing, and time will keep taking. Or fight back, gently and daily, with what nature already gave us. Stick with me. Let's start small. Let's start with something as familiar and humble as a banana. But before we peel that story open, I want you to sit with one question. What would your life look like if climbing stairs didn't feel like a chore? Because by the end of this journey, I promise you that life is not only possible, it's waiting. Frank once told me that the first fruit he added back into his routine was the banana. He called it the old man's dumbbell. I laughed at the time, but he wasn't joking. He said, "It gives your muscles what they're begging for, even if you've got no time to cook and no strength left to lift." It got me curious. I started looking into what makes a banana so powerful. Turns out, There's more to this simple yellow fruit than meets the eye. Bananas are loaded with potassium. Now, I didn't think much of potassium back then. It just sounded like one of those nutrients on the back of a cereal box. But what I didn't know was that potassium is the key that lets your muscles fire. Let me explain. Every time you stand up, walk, or reach out for something, your muscles need to contract in a precise, coordinated way. Potassium is the conductor of that movement. And when you're low on it, things start to go wrong. You feel weak, you might cramp, you may stumble, even fall. That's why potassium isn't just some health label, it's survival fuel. Frank had a cramping problem. Every night around 2 in the morning, he'd wake up grabbing his calves, like someone was twisting a rope inside his leg. That went on for months. But when he started eating bananas every morning with a spoonful of peanut butter, those cramps disappeared. Not overnight, but within a few weeks, he was sleeping sound again. That's not all bananas do. They also bring in vitamin B6, which helps turn food into energy your muscles can actually use. And there's magnesium too, another quiet hero that works behind the scenes to help your muscles relax and your bones stay strong. Together, these nutrients create the foundation for movement that feels natural, not forced. I remember I started doing what Frank did. I'd slice a banana over my oatmeal, or blend one into a smoothie with a little almond milk. It became a habit, a comforting one. And I noticed something strange. After a few weeks, I stopped feeling so sluggish in the afternoons. My legs felt more reliable, like they remembered who they used to be. There was a day, just 3 months after I started this habit, when I bent down to grab a bag of mulch in the garage. I stood up without thinking. No groan, no stagger. It hit me later that night. I hadn't done that effortlessly in years. All because of one small change. Science backs this up too. Researchers at Harvard found that natural carbs from fruits like bananas can improve endurance without the crash you get from processed snacks. That means more steady energy, especially if you're doing light exercises like walking, gardening, or just moving through your day without needing a nap by noon. Bananas also help replenish glycogen, the quick energy stores in your muscles. Think of it like refilling a gas tank after a long drive. That's why athletes use them after games. And if they work for 20-year-olds sprinting across a field, they sure work for folks like us just trying to climb stairs or carry laundry without losing our breath. Now, let me tell you something else Frank told me. He said the biggest mistake people make after 60 is thinking that pain is just part of life. But most of the time, it's just the body asking for help. Help that comes in small, simple choices, like what we put on our plate. And the banana? It's about as easy as help gets. Affordable, no need to peel or prep, and it travels well. Whether you're taking a walk in the park or heading to a doctor's appointment, it fits in your bag, your hand, your day. So here's the lesson Frank taught me. One banana at a time. Getting strong again doesn't start with lifting weights or running marathons. It starts with giving your body the fuel it understands. Food your grandmother knew. Food you can pronounce. Food that fits in your palm and changes how you feel. Tomorrow morning, when you make your breakfast, I want you to look at that banana not as a snack, but as a signal. A quiet promise that you're still rebuilding, still moving forward, still choosing strength, even in the smallest ways. And just like Frank did, once you start with one fruit, it gets easier to add another. Which brings me to the next one that surprised even me. A fruit that's rich, creamy, and often misunderstood. Let's talk about the power of the avocado. When Frank introduced me to avocados, I raised an eyebrow. I mean, we're from Indiana. Guacamole wasn't exactly a staple growing up, but Frank had started slicing half an avocado onto his morning toast every day. He said, "This right here is my anti-rust formula. Keeps the hinges from creaking." And he had a point. See, as I dug deeper, I learned that avocados are more than just a hipster food trend from California cafes. They're packed with something our aging bodies desperately need, but rarely get enough of: healthy fats. These aren't the fats we were warned about in the 90s. These are monounsaturated fats, the kind that soothe inflammation, especially in muscles that are tired, overused, or breaking down slowly. Inflammation is like a quiet fire burning inside the body. You can't see it, but you feel it in stiff joints, in sore shoulders, in that tightness in your lower back that never seems to leave. Frank used to say, "You can stretch all you want, but if the fire's still burning, you're just moving smoke around. What puts out that fire is what you eat." One study from the journal Nutrients showed that seniors who consumed more healthy fats like those in avocados had noticeably better muscle function and lower rates of sarcopenia. It's not just about stopping loss, it's about rebuilding what's been taken. Now, let's talk magnesium again. Remember how bananas have it? Avocados do too, in even higher amounts. That's good news, especially if you're someone who deals with cramps, restless legs at night, or general muscle tightness. Magnesium helps those muscles relax, repair, and rebuild. But there's something else in avocados that caught my eye: vitamin E. This is a powerful antioxidant that shields muscle cells from damage. As we age, oxidative stress, that silent cellular wear and tear, becomes a bigger threat. Vitamin E helps guard against that. Think of it like a gentle shield for your muscle fibers. Now here's where it gets personal. Frank had a hard time with grip strength. After his fall, even holding a coffee mug felt like a challenge. But he kept going. Avocados became part of his lunch routine too. Mashed into tuna, blended into smoothies, even whipped into a mousse with a little cocoa for dessert. Over time, his grip came back. Slowly, but steadily. And there's more. Avocados contain lutein, which we usually hear about for eye health. But new studies show it's also linked to better physical performance, walking speed, balance, even reaction time. Frank, being the train guy he was, always liked quick reflexes. He used to test himself with those old hand grippers while watching television. Said it made him feel like he was still behind the engine. By the time spring came around, Frank was mowing his lawn again. Not riding, walking. He told me, "I don't want to be fast. I want to be steady." That's the real win at our age. Consistency. If you've never tried avocados, or you've only had them mashed into dip at a party, I want to challenge you. Try adding half of one to your next breakfast or lunch. Spread it on whole grain toast, cube it into a salad, or mash it with a little salt and lemon for a quick snack. It's creamy, satisfying, and doesn't spike your blood sugar like many processed snacks. More importantly, it nourishes the parts of your body that do the heavy lifting: your legs, your arms, your back. It helps your muscles not just move, but recover. And perhaps the most powerful thing Frank taught me about food was this: it's not just fuel, it's forgiveness. It's how we repair the damage life has quietly done, day after day. Every bite is a vote for the kind of tomorrow we want. So if bananas are the builders, avocados are the healers, and the next fruit? Well, let's just say it's a warrior. Small, red, and surprisingly powerful. Let me tell you what happened the night Frank couldn't sleep, and how one juice helped him turn it all around. Frank was always an early riser, the kind of man who believed that nothing good ever happened after 8 at night. But there was a stretch of weeks when I noticed his porch light still glowing at 2 in the morning. I asked him one day, "You having trouble sleeping?" He nodded. "It's not the pain anymore," he said. "It's the racing mind, the restless legs, the tossing and turning like I'm chasing something I forgot." That's when he handed me a bottle of tart cherry juice. "Try this before bed. It's not just for sleep," he said. "It's for recovery, for peace." I'll be honest, I was skeptical. Cherries? I'd only ever had them in pie or on top of a sundae. But what Frank had was different. Deep red, no sugar added, pure and simple. And what I learned next made me a believer. Tart cherries are loaded with anthocyanins. These are the pigments that give cherries their rich color. But more than that, they're powerful antioxidants. They fight the oxidative stress that quietly breaks down our muscles as we age. Think of it like rust on metal. You can't always see it, but it's eating away underneath. One review I read in a journal called Nutrients explained that tart cherry juice reduced muscle soreness and improved recovery time in older adults. That matters. Because when you're over 60, recovery is the game. It's not how hard you push, it's how well you bounce back. And Frank? He started drinking a small glass every night, about an hour before bed. Within a week, he was sleeping through the night. Not every night, but most. And on the days he did, he woke up with more energy, less stiffness, and a better mood. The secret: melatonin. Tart cherries are one of the few natural sources of this sleep hormone. While most people turn to pills or over-the-counter solutions, Frank turned to nature, and it worked. But that's not all. Tart cherries also bring in vitamin C, not just for your immune system, but for collagen production. Collagen is the glue that holds muscle fibers and joints together. Without it, we lose that bounce, that flexibility, that ease of movement. I started drinking it too. Just a few ounces, cold, over ice. It became part of my wind-down routine, like brushing my teeth or reading a few pages from a book. And I noticed something else. I wasn't as sore after walks. I could do light yard work and not feel wrecked the next day. There was one Saturday when Frank and I helped his granddaughter move into her college dorm. 3 flights of stairs, boxes, books. We joked we'd need a forklift, but we did it. Slowly, sure, but without pain. That night, we toasted with cherry juice instead of whiskey, said it felt like we'd found a secret weapon. And in a way, we had. Cherries helped Frank sleep. They helped him recover. They helped him trust his body again. And they reminded me that healing doesn't always come in big moments. Sometimes, it's a few ounces of red juice and a deep breath before bed. So if you've been feeling the weight of fatigue, the drag of poor sleep, or the sting of soreness after simple movement, consider adding tart cherries to your routine. You don't need much, just enough to tell your body, I've got your back. And now that we've slept better, moved easier, and started healing from the inside, it's time to talk about what keeps the blood flowing and the muscles fueled. A fruit that's bold, beautiful, and surprisingly powerful. Let's talk about pomegranates and how they became Frank's not-so-secret endurance booster. Frank always called pomegranates the ruby grenades. He said they looked small, but they packed a punch. I still remember the first time he offered me one. It was late October again, 2 years after his fall. We were sitting on his porch, leaves swirling in little eddies across the sidewalk, and he handed me a bowl of pomegranate seeds with a spoon. He said, "Chew slow. These are better than any energy drink you'll find in a gas station." Turns out, he wasn't wrong. Pomegranates are one of nature's richest sources of polyphenols. Those powerful antioxidants that help repair and protect our cells from damage. As we age, oxidative stress builds up, chipping away at our muscles and our stamina. Pomegranates fight back. One study I came across, published in a sports nutrition journal, showed that older adults who took pomegranate extract had less soreness after physical activity and recovered strength faster. It's not just for athletes. It's for anyone who wants to lift a bag of groceries without wincing the next morning. But there's something even more interesting inside these red jewels, a compound called elagitanin. Your body turns it into something called urolithin A, and that stuff works deep inside your cells, inside the mitochondria, the tiny engines that give your muscles energy. Better mitochondria means more stamina, longer walks, more stairs, more life. I remember one day, Frank and I tried something we hadn't done in years. We hiked a short trail outside of town. Nothing steep, nothing fancy. Just a couple of miles through soft woods and gentle slopes. It had been on his list since his granddaughter was born. He wanted to take her there someday. We packed light, took it slow, and brought along 2 bottles, water and pure pomegranate juice. We stopped halfway and sat on a log, breathing in the cold air and laughing about how our younger selves would have sprinted ahead. Frank said, "I don't want to race anymore. I want to last." That stuck with me. Pomegranates also help your blood vessels relax, allowing more oxygen and nutrients to reach your muscles. That means less fatigue, better performance, and a heart that works with you, not against you. One clinical trial I read, published in Free Radical Biology and Medicine, showed older adults who drank pomegranate juice daily had better circulation and lower blood pressure. That's not just science. That's hope for people like us who want to live strong, not just long. Frank added pomegranates to everything. He'd sprinkle the seeds on his morning oats, mix them into yogurt, sometimes just eat them by the spoonful while watching the evening news. He even got creative and added them to a salad with walnuts and spinach, calling it his engineer's lunch. There's one more piece most folks don't know. Pomegranates are loaded with vitamin C. That helps build collagen, the connective tissue that keeps muscles flexible and joints pain-free. It's the difference between standing up stiff or standing up smooth. And here's the real-world lesson Frank taught me. You don't have to wait until something breaks to start rebuilding. You can start today, with a spoonful of seeds, a glass of juice, a walk through the trees. That's what this is all about, really. Tiny actions, tiny wins. That's how strength returns. Not through punishment or perfection, but through patience and persistence. So if bananas give you power, avocados help you heal, and cherries restore your rest, pomegranates are the engine booster, the fuel line cleaner, the quiet force that keeps your system humming. And just when I thought Frank had shown me every trick in his book, he pulled out one more fruit, one most folks ignore. A wrinkled, sweet gem that held a secret weapon for both muscles and bones. Let me tell you about prunes, and the unexpected way they helped Frank feel like himself again. Frank always had a jar of prunes sitting by his kitchen window, not because he liked the taste all that much, but because he swore by what they did for his body. He called them the old man's secret weapon. Most folks only think of prunes as a fix for digestion. Frank saw them as something far more powerful. He'd tell me, "These little guys keep my bones steady and my muscles honest." And again, he wasn't just going off instinct. Science was right behind him. Prunes are packed with antioxidants, especially a group called phenolics. These compounds fight off inflammation, that slow-burning enemy we talked about earlier. The kind of inflammation that quietly breaks down muscle over the years. Prunes step in like firefighters, calming the flames, making it easier for your body to repair. But what really surprised me was how prunes affect something called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. This hormone helps your body build and repair muscle. And as we age, our IGF-1 levels drop off, making it harder to bounce back from a long walk, a fall, or even just a restless night. Frank had read that prunes might help increase IGF-1 activity, so he made them part of his afternoon routine. Just 3 or 4, every day. Not too many, just enough. And after a few weeks, he said something I'll never forget. "I feel solid again," he told me. "Like I'm not made of glass." That really hit me. Because that's the fear, isn't it? That we're becoming fragile. That one wrong step could take weeks to recover from. But Frank was proving that we could tip the scale back, gently and steadily, by giving our bodies what they needed. And then came the part most people miss. Prunes are incredible for your bones. Multiple studies, including one in Osteoporosis International, showed that postmenopausal women who ate prunes daily had better bone density and fewer fractures. That's no small thing. Strong bones don't just protect you from falls. They give your muscles a solid foundation to work from. And there's boron, a trace mineral found in prunes that helps your body use calcium and magnesium more effectively. That means better muscle contractions, better bone health, and steadier energy throughout the day. Frank used to chop his prunes into his oatmeal, or toss them into a stew with carrots and onions. Sometimes, he'd blend them into a smoothie with cocoa and almond milk. Sweet, rich, and full of quiet power. And here's the thing. Prunes are shelf-stable, affordable, easy to find. They don't need refrigeration or fancy recipes. They're ready when you are. And in a world full of complicated diets and expensive pills, that kind of simplicity is a gift. By the time Frank turned 75, he wasn't just maintaining. He was moving better than he had in his 60s. Walking daily, sleeping deeply, lifting bags of mulch again, laughing louder, living more, all because he'd made peace with his body, not by fighting it, but by feeding it with fruit, with kindness, with patience. Bananas gave him energy. Avocados healed his inflammation. Tart cherries restored his sleep. Pomegranates boosted his endurance. Prunes strengthened his core. And apples? Well, apples were the cherry on top. But that's a story for another day. What matters now is this. You are not broken. You are not too late. And you do not need to surrender your strength to time. You need only start. With one fruit, one meal, one walk around the block. And from there, let the rest unfold. Frank would say, we can't turn back the clock, but we can wind it forward with better hands. And today, those hands might just reach for a prune.